like, I'm done, like I'm good, I'm all set. Wrong. What's up everyone, it's Leah London. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 10 maternity or pregnancy expenses that no one ever tells you about. As a mom of twins, I remember my pregnancy very well, and there were definitely things that caught me off guard. And so in the spirit of keeping it real, I'm gonna tell you all about it. So if you are expecting, maybe you are a partner of someone expecting, or a supportive family member or friend, this video is for you. Now, before you begin, make sure that you are subscribed and go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. I make videos on my channel all around motherhood and lifestyle. Once you watch this video, go ahead and check out a few others and stay tuned for more. All right, let's begin. So I want to give a disclaimer. I'm clear that every pregnancy is different, and so some of these may be more relevant than others, but I do feel that these are still fairly universal for expecting moms. So number one on the list is prenatals. Now, it seems pretty straightforward and pretty simple. However, there are actually a lot of different variations on the market, and there's no guarantee that what you expect is going to be the most tolerable option for you. And it's extremely important in the beginning. They even advise before you even get pregnant to start taking prenatals, just to make sure your body is in the most optimal place. I thought I would just go to the store, buy something basic, generic brand even, and that I would be set for all 10 months. However, I actually could not even tolerate the first 3 prenatals that I tried. And so it became like this endless experience of trying to find the right one. You of course have the ones you can go to the store and purchase. They have a wide range there, just different brands and different types. Do you want a pill? Do you want gummies? They have options where you can get subscriptions so that they are delivered on a monthly basis. And then what actually worked for me was a liquid prenatal. Now, it was a much pricier option, but I literally could not stomach any of the other options that I mentioned. And so the liquid prenatal was the only one that worked for me. And it's definitely an option that I would suggest if you get to that point as well. So the first expense that no one tells you about is taking prenatals can be such a guessing game, and there is an expense to trying a bunch of different ones to figure out what is right for you. For number 2, I'm gonna label this like well-being. Again, every pregnancy is different. However, especially in the first trimester when you may not feel the greatest, and before a lot of people even know that you're pregnant, that you're expecting, you may find yourself just wanting relief of any sort whatsoever. You're limited in what you can take in terms of medication. You literally want any solution to make you feel better that are safe options for your baby. Some of the things that worked for me were there are a number of teas on the market that really helped with like some of the nausea I was feeling. There were like popsicles and little like lozenger drops that I could suck on when I wasn't feeling the best. And so again, all of these things have expenses. You need relief because you feel terrible. You are going to do whatever it takes to feel better. And so there definitely are things on the market. Now, unfortunately, the baby market, a lot of things are like upcharged just because like they know people want them. It's definitely something that I didn't anticipate was needing to find immediate relief so that I could feel much better. Number 3 is cravings. Food and cravings. So there's a potential that your appetite will be extremely finicky, and that can vary and range throughout your pregnancy. In my experience, towards the beginning, my appetite was just, it was so limited. Many days I couldn't stomach a lot of food, and so what I did and what I found to be helpful is the things that I were craving, I just jumped on it and did it. If it was a donut, hey, it's a donut today. If it's a salad, hey, it's a salad today. So I just gravitated towards the things that I was craving because my intake was so limited, so limited, that I would rather have something than nothing at all. I actually lost 10 pounds during my first trimester because I was not able to stomach a lot. And that's a very real experience. Just create room in your budget for those cravings. The options are limitless, but definitely consider just giving yourself that grace and that leeway to really explore the things that are, you know, on your palate and on your mind. Obviously, you have to do this within reason. Okay, so we talked about prenatal, so we talked about well-being and some cravings in food. The next thing I want to talk to you about is your doctor's office. Now, everyone's plan is going to vary depending on what insurance carrier you have, and perhaps you're a self-pay patient, and so that's going to vary as well. But it's important for you to understand what that's going to be for you when you have recurring doctor's visits. Where I had a high-risk physician in addition to my regular OBGYN because I was pregnant with twins, and so that was twice the amount of doctor's visits for me. And so it's just really important for you to understand, one, what are your options, and two, what are going to be the recurring expense, if any. It may just initial expense up front until you actually get to your birth, or it could be an ongoing expense. You have to also consider maybe there's parking involved too, so that's definitely something that you have to consider. All of your doctor's office visits expenses. So speaking of doctor's office, one of the things that I didn't know I would be asked of is if I wanted to do supplemental testing for baby. Now, this is usually prior to your 20-week anatomy scan. They usually will give you an option of doing different blood work for your baby to just better understand the health profile, and sometimes they're able to reveal the gender earlier through the blood work. All of that is supplemental testing, which means that likely your insurance, if you have insurance, does not cover it. And so I think it's important to understand what all goes on within that testing ahead of time, so that when you are presented with the option, you can make an informed decision for you. Some moms want to do all the testing there is to give them that peace of mind. Other moms would rather do the least amount of intervention as possible, and there's no wrong answer. Just be mindful that there is an expense attached to that. So maternity clothing is up next. Now, one thing for sure is your body is going to go through quite a few changes over up to 40 weeks and then post-pregnancy, and so it's important to make sure that you're comfortable and cute, hello, the entire time. Probably in the beginning you could get away with wearing your regular clothes, but at some point it may not be an option anymore. But good news is there are some retailers that do have reasonable price points. For example, like H&M. They do have a maternity line online that you're able to check out and find some decently priced clothing items. And then they do have like maternity specific retailers, but I do find in those instances like they're usually a lot more on the expensive side. And for me, I could never justify, like, because this wardrobe is somewhat temporary because of the changes I mentioned, you know, I just didn't want to buy a bunch of pricey expensive items that who's to say that I'll still fit them later down the road. Number 7 is pregnancy comforts. Now, earlier I talked about just like well-being, and that was just to make sure that you felt normal in yourself. These items are to make sure that you are comfortable within your pregnancy, and this can be things like a pregnancy pillow. At some point when you have a belly, you're going to want to make sure that you're able to sleep on your side comfortably, and that's when it comes in handy. There are definitely a lot of different pregnancy pillows on the market, and so you want to research and figure out which one works for you. But yeah, so things like pregnancy pillow, there's some like belly bands that kind of help release some pressure. You probably want to make sure you have extremely comfortable shoes that have arch support and give you some really good comfort while you walk. Add a few lotions and oils that you can help use on your belly to just make sure that your skin is being very nicely moisturized as it continues to grow and stretch to make room for baby. Next up on the list is your hospital bag. Now, depending on your birth plan, whether you're birthing at a hospital, maybe a birth center, either way, you're gonna wanna have a dedicated baby bag, hospital bag rather, that includes all of your items, perhaps your partner's items, and items for baby during your stay before you're released to come home. And so many people pack this and either leave it by their door and or maybe inside the car so that they are all set and ready to go. But you just want to consider and begin to think through what are the things that you want and need to be a part of that experience, and begin packing and setting aside those items. There may be some things that you have to purchase from the store, and so this is definitely an expense because they are perhaps new items that you would want to bring along with you. One of the must-haves for me was our baby's first outfits. First outfits for not only coming home, but first outfits for our in-house photography that took place on day 2 before we discharged from the hospital. And so begin to think through what you want that experience to be like, and then make sure those are the items that you pack in your bag. So next on the list is income impacts for working mamas. That's a lot, let me explain. So if you're a working mom, you likely are planning to work up until the very last minute that you can prior to giving birth. I ended up working until like the Thursday before my children were born on that weekend. But there are some scenarios that may prevent mama from working as she gets closer to birth. And that's really important to consider. It's going to be income that you're potentially not going to be able to account for. It's worth having the conversation and coming up with a plan just so that you are aware and on the same page. Last but certainly not least is the big moment, the birth. This experience will range depending on your birth plan, depending on your setting, whether it's a hospital versus a birthing center. Final item I'm going to talk about is your hospital bill. Now, there are a ton of variables that you're not necessarily going to know ahead of time. Contact your insurance sooner than later within your pregnancy so that you can understand what your benefits are and get the best information for you to make an informed decision on your care. They are options for in-network and out-of-network, which drastically can change your financial obligations. So you want to make sure you're really in tune with what your plan offers so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. If you've made it this far in the video, I definitely appreciate you sticking around. I hope that this was extremely informative and so that you now understand some of the expenses that you may not have had in mind before. If there's anything that surprised you, let me know in the comments below, and make sure you are subscribed. Give this video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!